Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a quick video on weathering this Hasbro Pulse LOLA animatronic figure. Now this is the one that was debuted at Star Wars Celebration, and it wasn't supposed to be released until December, but a fellow collector let me know that Amazon got them early, so I immediately placed an order and it arrived literally the next day, so I canceled my pre-order. As you could see, it kind of looks like a toy. It's really cool. It's 1-to-1. Obviously, it's life size, but it still looks very plasticky. So today we're gonna weather it up. So all you're gonna need is just some black acrylic paint, just any brand, doesn't matter. And I like to use rub and buff. I usually use silver. I mean, that's like my go-to. I mean, for any of you builders out there, you know that it's a must-have. And then the gold, just to give it just a little depth on the parts. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take a little bit of black acrylic paint. Now, a little bit goes a long way, so you don't need a ton of paint. And then what I do is I pour a little bit of water on, just like a paper plate. And then what I do is I kind of make, one side where it's a little bit thicker than the other. And then you got to play around with it. Now, if this is your first time weathering something, it could be very scary, right? Because obviously you're putting paint all over it and it's starting to look, really dirty. But hopefully this video gives you confidence because look, the acrylic paint, it wipes right off. So especially if you're first starting out, don't go too heavy on the paint, do it in layers, start very light and then take it off and then put another layer and then take it off. So it's, it's a learning process. So what I usually do is I literally bathe it in, a dirty layer, right? So it makes it look like oil. And then I pat it dry. And I repeat the process until I'm kind of happy with how dirty it is. Now, the key to weathering anything is to make sure you get the paint into all the little cracks, because that's actually what's going to make it look weathered, right? Because that's where naturally dirt and oil would get into. Now, the rub and buff, this is the best part. And you literally, all you have to do is just get a tiny little bit, put it on your finger, and then just rub it on the parts that are raised. And you'll see how easy it is. And then what I do is just take a little bit of gold and just any little accent, I just kind of rub it on there, and there you go. It's literally that easy. And if you mess up, it's okay. Rub and buff also comes off. Now, the chips, as you can see, the real one has these little chips. So I'm gonna give you a little tip. So I took the back of a paintbrush and then I put the rub and buff on there. So that way I'm able to really control the chip on the edge. If I were to put it on my finger, I think, obviously the edge would kind of, my finger would wrap around the edge and I wouldn't get that fine chip. So all you do is just put a little bit on there and then just kind of follow the line. As you could see, it's, the LOLA's already starting to look really nice and weathered. I got it to a right, to where I was happy with it. And then the rub and buff dries pretty quick. But you really have to watch out, because if you get it on your hands, if you get it somewhere else, it could kind of get all over the place. But like I said, it comes off really quick. In fact, with some, just even baby wipes or some type of like Clorox wipes, it literally just comes right off. So far, so good. As you can see here, it's already starting to look just more realistic, right? More weathered. I got all the major chips. There's not a lot of references out there for this droid. So whatever screenshots I can get, I kind of look through the series and see what I could find. And, mostly I wanted to get the landmark chips, which I did right here. It's not too many of them. So far, it's looking pretty good. Now, the next thing I did is I still needed a little bit more weathering inside of the gold part, right? And the cracks and around the eye. So what I did is I took a little more acrylic, a little less water, and just kind of went through all the cracks there with the gold paint and just kind of go through it with the little paintbrush. Like I said, if you mess up, it's okay. You just literally just take it right off. And then again, around the eye, you want to get kind of spots where you would think that naturally dirt and oil would get into, right? So any corners like this, obviously around the eye, naturally just dirt would get in there. And again, hopefully this video just serves as more of, giving you courage to kind of dirty up your figure. It's sometimes it could be intimidating, right? Especially, these are almost $100. People are like, I don't want to mess it up, but trust me, you won't mess it up. So like you see there, I kind of got all the little buttons. I wanted to make sure, or I guess they're like screws. I don't know what they are, but I wanted to make sure that, dirt really got in there. So what I do is I just follow the edges and make sure that I put some inside. And like I said, all you need to do is just, wipe it off. Put on the paint, wipe it off until you're happy with it. And so far, I am very happy how this is turning out. Now, like I said, if you mess up at any point, you could always clean it up with a little Clorox wipe or just even a wet wipe. All right, so now the next thing I'm gonna do is I wanna make sure that the antenna is weathered. And I didn't show it here, I accidentally shot it out of frame, but I also put a little bit of rub and buff on the top of the antenna because it's actually silver when you look at the screen used one. So make sure you convert that into silver and then obviously weather it up as well. So far, I'm really liking how this is turning out. I mean, it's night and day. It's no longer looking like a little plastic toy. It's actually looking like a replica. So I am going to show you this technique. Now, you don't have to do this. I learned this technique because, I built and painted my R2, and I also did a K3PO that I painted and weathered and all that. And I have this technique to make kind of the white look more realistic. And it's hard to explain, but I do a wet sanding technique with a little bit of obviously water, and it gives it just this look of I don't know, less of like a person just weathering it and more of a natural weathering. And all it is, and again, you don't have to do this. This is something that I just do. You take any, from 400 to 800 grain sandpaper, put some water on it, and then just very, very lightly. I mean, you're not putting much pressure. You're literally just kind of sanding the acrylic paint kind of off, but also smearing it. So again, it gives it just a much more natural look. As you could see there, it doesn't look as heavy on certain parts. I really like to focus on the peak areas, right? On the higher areas, because naturally, higher areas tend to be clean, right? Whether air or whether someone touching it, it naturally would clean the higher areas. So again, you don't have to do that, but I do it because I just like the technique. Now, also, don't forget to also dirty up the little motors in here, right? After you paint them, after you get them all ready, you're still gonna have to put a little bit of oil in there to make it look more realistic. Now, the other thing you wanna do after you're done with that, after you pat dry it, also go back and hit the high spots with another little coat of silver rub and buff or gold rub and buff over your finger, and it'll just give it just more of depth, and it'll just make it pop a lot more. Unfortunately, I didn't actually film that part of it, so I'm sorry, but yeah, at the very end, after you do the second pass of weathering, just go back and hit the high spots with another little bit of rub and buff. And again, if you mess up at any time, you literally could just get a little Clorox wipe or just a wet wipe, and all the paint and everything kind of just comes off. So don't worry about messing it up. You're not going to, okay? But go slowly. Now, this is another little part, right? Because obviously the sides still just look like plastic. So I wanted to give it more of a metallic look. So there's two ways to go about this. You could do the dry brush technique, where you literally just take a brush, you dab a little bit of the silver rub and buff on it, and then just slowly just kind of rub it on there, right? It's a dry rub effect, or dry brush effect, sorry. But what I actually like to do is kind of the, rub it on with my finger. And the reason why I like doing that is just because the peaks, right, the higher parts of it just end up looking a little more shiny. And you'll see what I'm talking about right now. The brush is great to get into like little, little cracks and little parts that you normally wouldn't be able to get through with your finger. But some of the higher spots, I definitely recommend at least going over it again with your finger. And I'm going to show you kind of how I do that here. Now with this specific little toy or droid, you want to push down because there's 2 layers of it. Here's the method that I'm telling you. It's so much quicker, and you just literally put a little bit of rub and buff on your finger, and it just does wonders. And see, now it looks like a replica, right? It's no longer looking like a little toy. It looks more legit. And here is the final product, and I'm so happy how this turned out.
LOLA.
It just gives it such a different look. It looks like it kind of came out of the movie, right? Instead of just like a little plastic toy. Hopefully, you like this tutorial, and again, I hope that you just use this video, to give you some courage. And again, you don't have to go all out like this, with the rub and buff and all that. But even just some slight weathering will make this thing really come to life. So I really enjoyed kind of doing this little, it took me about an hour, to tell you the truth, the whole process. So it doesn't take too long, but I mean, it's night and day after you finish it up. What I intend to do, and which I already have on order, is I actually have a plaque with Vivian's autograph that's going to be coming in, and who's the little girl that played Princess Leia. So I have a plaque ready. It's going to be signed by her, and it's going to be displayed along with this little Lola figure. And again, it's just really cool. It's 1-to-1. It's life size. It's probably the best you're gonna be able to get at this time. Now it's not exact. It's not an exact replica, obviously, and you do have to put some work into it to make it look good. But I'm really happy how this turned out. It really just pops. I really like this. Let me show you the before and afters. Well, there you go, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you the courage to get in there and get your droid really dirty and make it look cool. Now, again, these methods are kind of the way I do things. There's tons of other ways to do it. So go out there and find the best way you can. Hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you next time.